People are always asking, what kind of bike should I buy? I'm hearing all sorts of advice on the internet. I'm reading all sorts of things, and I just don't know what I should get. Today, I'm going to answer your questions on what kind of bike I should buy. First question that we always ask is, what do you want to do with your bike? Are you planning to use it to ride with your kids on little trails around your neighborhood? Or are you planning an epic ride and you're going to ride across the country? Maybe you're using your bike for work, or you're inspired to do an event of some sort. These questions really matter. And so asking what kind of bike you should buy is kind of like saying, what kind of car should I get? Well, it might come down to color, and it might come down to price, but realistically, most people, and especially here in Winnipeg where we are, need a good quality bike that's going to be repairable and give them years of reliable, fun, comfortable riding. Now, the other thing is that most bikes are not perfect straight out of the box for you because, well, they've designed it for average people, and neither you nor I are quite average. We've got things about us, like my daughter just graduated from high school and she bought a dress off the rack, and then we paid twice that again to make it fit her. I bought a suit a few years ago off the rack, and I paid a few $100s to make it fit me. So bikes off the rack usually need a little bit of tinkering, not as much tinkering as a grad dress, but sometimes a little bit. Changing out seats, changing handlebars, things like that are going to make it perfect. But the question that you asked is, what kind of bike should I buy? Most people will really enjoy a comfortable, what we call a hybrid bike. Now, here in Winnipeg, we have very rough roads. So for us, a hybrid bike has slightly wider wheels, or slightly wider tires, which means that if you are looking around for traffic and you miss seeing that pothole, you're not going to lose your teeth and bend your wheel. So slightly wider tire, maybe with some knobs so that if you get onto a gravel path or gravel road, you're going to still feel confident and comfortable. Lots of people like a little bit of suspension in the front. Maybe you're going, up the transitions from road to bike path, or you're just riding on rough Winnipeg roads that will chatter your teeth. Then that little bit of front suspension takes out the pressure on your wrists, your elbows, your shoulders, keeps you more confident and comfortable. So the next question is, how much should I spend on a bike? Great question. Glad you asked. You can spend whatever you want on a bike. Bikes range from a few $100s at a big box store up to, well, I don't know, if you want to win the Tour de France, you can pay $20,000 for a bike. That's not what we're talking about here today. Do you know I need to spend between $600? Is it $1,000? Do I need to spend $2,000 on a bike? That's unbelievable for some of us. Let me tell you, most people spend between $800 and $1,200 on a bicycle. And here's why. When you're spending in that range, you're getting repairable parts and predictable performance. So your braking and your shifting is gonna get better as you move kind of through that $800 to $1,200 range. Every $100 is gonna make a big difference. So an $800 bike, most of the time, no problem recommending it for reliability and repairability. At $1,200, lots of the tweaks have been improved. So you've got now a good quality set of hydraulic disc brakes likely, and gears that shift smoothly and predictably. Closer to the $800 point, they're probably, in order to hit that price point, the manufacturer is downgrading, either shifting or braking. It's still safe, it's still good. Just know that when you spend a little bit more, those are the kinds of things that you're going to get. You will feel it on a test ride. So when you go to your local bike shop, please insist on a test ride. Try the different price points, because if you're on the fence wondering, and you're planning on using this bike for the next 5, 10, 15 years, get the quality that you want at the beginning, because the upgrades will become easier. You know, if you think that if you get a 7-speed bike right now, and then you find that you want to change your gears, you might find that the expense of upgrading becomes a little bit more than what you wanted. And then at that point, you're either just riding what you've got, or you're trading up your bike for a different one. So consider that. Get the bike that fits you best, but don't just make your decision on color. Know that when you spend more, you will get more. The performance will be better. Frames get significantly better. Performance gets better as you move up. So how much you spend really matters, but where you buy also matters. If you're considering buying a bike from a bike shop or online or from a big box store, I want you to think about all the invisible things a local bike shop will give you. So for example, we may not have exactly the size and color specific that you were looking for, but you know what? Often we can order that in. And then that works a lot like a guided online service, doesn't it? So if you're comfortable with buying a bike online, you should also be comfortable with doing all your own repairs, research, warranty claims, and the like, which if you buy it in store, we will do that research, we'll co-shop with you, get you on the right thing, and if you have warranty issues, we will do that work for you. Now at a big box store, they often have lots of bikes. They compete really well on price and color, but the person who put together that bike is the same person probably who's out collecting the shopping carts or sweeping or mopping the floors in the back. They don't know that much about bikes. They can follow the instructions of putting a bike together. Sometimes, I can't tell you how many times we've had bikes come in and the forks, like the handlebars have been put on backwards, so that then the forks, everything's just wrong. The bike rides terribly. And 5 minutes in our shop and it rides like a different bike. So even just the assembly makes a big difference. When Costco brings in a bike, they need those bikes to be assemblable in about 6 minutes. That's the standard. Our bikes come from many of the same places, but we anticipate spending between 45 minutes and an hour on that bike. And not because it is worse assembled, it's because we're going to make sure that it is safety checked, that the bolts are all tight, or that they're not over tight, that things are properly attached, that the brakes aren't rubbing, and that the gears shift nicely. We'll even take the wheels off the bike and make sure that the hubs spin nicely and that the wheels are true. So all of those things go into your bike coming to you ready to ride, feeling safe. Now, I mean, think about that for your kids. If you're getting a bike because you want your children to enjoy riding, well, wouldn't you feel better knowing that they're not working way harder than you are because the bike is poorly adjusted and their brakes are too tight or their shifters don't shift, and that it's safe. Has the bike been safety checked? So those are things that you can't get online. Now, or from a big box store, because they just don't know. We also will, from time to time, assemble bikes that people have bought online. It's the Wild West. The online market is kind of nutty. They can sell whatever they want online. And we will often assemble them, but I'm telling you, like, the quality that we see come out of the boxes is not what we would put our family members on much of the time. Or it comes with parts that we just can't warranty, and we can't do that work. So if you are very good at doing your own DIY stuff on bikes, buy online. If price is the only consideration for having a bicycle, a big box store is a great option. But if you care about safety and predictability of your ride and repairability of your bike, then your local bike shop will typically save you hundreds of dollars over the lifetime of your bike, depending on how much you ride it. Okay, third question people are asking us, is it worth it to get an e-bike for commuting, especially on the flats, on the prairies, in Winnipeg? Does it make a difference to have an e-bike? And I will say, it depends. Of course, it's going to make a fantastic difference. Most people's commutes are less than 5 kilometers. A 5-kilometer commute on your pedal-powered bicycle, you're going to be just fine most days. Now, where an e-bike can make a really big difference is once you start to get into the shoulder seasons, early spring, late fall, when it gets a little bit cooler, that e-bike is going to keep you rolling. A little bit of extra weight means that the ice on the roads isn't going to affect you quite as much. You can even take many of our e-bikes and put studded tires on them, run them through the winter. And in which case an e-bike for a short commute can make a big difference. Now, if you've got a longer commute, if you're 10, 15, 20 kilometer commute, an e-bike is probably going to mean the difference between riding your bike 1 or 2 times a week versus not. So maybe you have got an idea that you're going to ride your bike every day to go to work. And then the first time you wake up in the morning and the wind is howling from the east, and that's the direction of your commute, you're going to go, not today, not going to do it. And what does that mean? It means you're not going to get your ride in. You've got to figure out another way to stay active that day, and you don't get the benefit. E-bikes are bikes that get ridden. They're excuse eliminators. So now imagine you wake up in the morning, big east wind, you look over at your e-bike, you go, no problem, the wind is behind me today. I'm going to add a little bit extra oomph to my assistance, and I'm going to ride against that wind. Now, if I lived at the west side of Winnipeg and I worked downtown, an e-bike is going to save my commute home, because the wind is always against you when you're going to the west in Winnipeg. And at the end of the day, you're tired, you've got stuff to do. Most of us can't just go home and veg on the couch. Our kids need something, our spouse needs something. We've made commitments with friends, we want to go out. So getting home, being exhausted, tacking an extra 15 minutes onto your commute because the wind was against you isn't cool. So that e-bike means that you can get on your bike, you can put on your extra assist, you're going to get home, you're not going to be cooked. Now, are you going to get exercise? Yes, you will still get exercise. You just won't feel like you went to the gym and somebody cranked on the resistance on your stationary bike. You don't want that. What you want is you want to ride with the wind at your back, get home with a big smile on your face, which you will. So Is an e-bike a great answer for commuting in Winnipeg? Yes, it is, if you want to do it more often. It will eliminate your excuses. All right, another great question is, what size of bike should I be riding? What you want is you want a bike that's not going to be so tall that you're feeling it or that you feel uncomfortable when you come to a quick stop. But it also shouldn't be so small that when you're riding it, you feel like a T-Rex, or when you get off it, your lower back or your knees creak. In fact, I can always tell if my seat post has worked its way down, because when I get to the end of a ride and I put my bike in the basement because I don't want it to get stolen, then I'm going back up the stairs. If my knees are creaking, my seat goes up. Many times we see people on bikes that are far too small. In fact, I would say that would probably be the majority of guys. If they're going to have a bike, it's probably going to be too small. The majority of women seem to often have a bike that's too big. And I wonder, though I don't have stats or scientific data on this, I wonder if their first good bike, they're using a boyfriend's or a dad's bike, and they've just gotten used to being on that big bike. So getting you on actually a properly fitting bike becomes really important. So when you go to your local bike shop, sit on a bunch of bikes. You know, you might think you're a medium frame. Try a small, try a medium, try a large. It can make a difference. Now, another great adaptation, or even just change of language. We used to have boys' bikes and girls' bikes. And then we all got a little bit older. We got artificial hips and artificial knees, and we sat at desks for the 30 years, and our hip flexors and hamstrings got really short. And we found that a step-through bike became amazing. So you can overcome a lot of sizing issues by going with a step-through bike, step-through frame. It can make a big difference. I've even seen it be a big difference maker for people who use e-bikes for hunting or fishing. They're often got gear on the back of their bike. They've got big boots on, and throwing big boots over a step-over frame can be a bit of a challenge. So a step-through frame can make a big difference for that. So the size of bike that you need kind of depends, but let your local bike shop get you into the right size of bike so that you can enjoy your rides and not have pain while you ride. All right, so that's my best tips for buying an ideal bike for riding here. If you love this, share it. You can, wherever you're supposed to share it. Tell your friends about this. And if you've got more questions, we love to help here at Olympia Cycle and Ski in Winnipeg, 1813 Portage Avenue. I'm Coach Rob, and I want to help you get on the trails.